India's independence, a feat achieved by millions of freedom fighters, a cause for which scores of Indians sacrificed their life to see Mother India free from the clutches of the British. Yet there are a few names that stood out that still continue to inspire millions of Indians. Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, a name that still galvanizes the youth of India to do something for their motherland and fills every Indian with pride. Today, we are tracing places that are associated with Netaji's life, places he went to, places that consist of bits of his life that he left behind, places one must visit to understand a chapter of history that was never given its due credit. The Netaji Birthplace Museum in Odisha, as the name suggests, is the place where Subhash Chandra Bose was born on 23rd January 1897. The house known as Janakinath Bhavan is situated at Oriya Bazar in Cuttack, Odisha. He spent his early childhood in this very house with 8 brothers and 6 sisters. Now a museum, this ancestral house has several galleries displaying memorabilia from his early childhood and his later exploits. Netaji went to several places in India and abroad as his resolve for India's freedom grew stronger. During the course of his journey, he wrote several letters to his family and to others expressing his views about a strong and independent India. You will find these rare letters and his Indian National Army uniform among other memorabilia housed at this museum. Situated in Kurseong in West Bengal, this house belonged to Netaji's brother and freedom fighter Sarat Chandra Bose. Both of them had been interned by the British here for 7 months in 1937. From here, Netaji wrote 26 letters, of which 11 were written to his would-be wife, Emily Schneckel. Photocopies of these personal exchanges are on display here. This house also contains documents about the remarkable Haripura session of the Congress, where he was elected as Congress President with a thumping majority. It is believed that he wrote the famous Haripura session address here, in which a 6 months ultimatum was given to the British to leave the country, failing which there will be a revolt. Subhash Chandra Bose spent his formative years in Calcutta, in a house built by his father Janaki Ram Bose in 1909. When he returned from England, rejecting the civil services, this house used to bustle with political activities given Netaji's rise in the ranks of Indian National Congress. Netaji was placed under house arrest by the British at this house as well. However, on January 17, 1941, Bose, disguised as insurance agent Muhammad Ziauddin, flee this Kolkata home in a car that you can now find on display at the Netaji Bhavan. The master of disguise reached Berlin, Germany, 3 months later, having evaded British intelligence. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Netaji's belief in this led him to seek Germany and Japan's help to defeat the British. Germany had virtually conquered the whole of Europe, while on the east, Japan's imperialist regime was marching westwards, plundering and conquering every land. Netaji arrived at Singapore with Germany's help and took charge of the Indian National Army, where he uttered the famous words, "Dilli Chalo." He mobilized the Indians, mainly prisoners of war captured by Japan, and arrived at Andaman and Nicobar Islands, taking over limited jurisdiction of the islands. Netaji, alongside the Japanese, marched with his Azad Hind Fauj via Rangoon and defeated the British to liberate parts of Manipur, where he unfurled India's tricolour as Commander-in-Chief of the Indian National Army. The first provincial government of independent India was formed here. The Azad Hind government administered this 1500 square mile area of independent India in the Manipur Valley for 3 months. The plan was to march forward to Delhi and garner support of Indians along the way. However, the tide turned. Japan faced a crushing defeat at the hands of the British Army, and Azad Hind Fauj had to retreat back to Rangoon. The museum in Moirang, Manipur, stands as a testimony to the battle in which both sides suffered heavy losses, and that the brave Indian National Army led by the heroic Subhas Chandra Bose did the unimaginable, freeing a part of India, a feat no other freedom fighter could achieve in those days. The museum displays a fine collection of arms and ammunition, bayonets, helmets, handwritten letters of Subhash Chandra Bose addressed to his soldiers, currency and stamps of the Azad Hind government, and other articles used by the soldiers of the Indian National Army. The museum also displays books, documents, manuscripts, and periodicals that depict India's history and its freedom struggle. The British shot themselves in the foot by announcing trials of Indian National Army soldiers who dared to revolt against them in the battles of Imphal and Kohima between November 1945 and May 1946. The battles of Kohima and Imphal and the march of Indian National Army towards India had already awakened the masses. The first of the Red Fort trials was the joint court-martial of Colonel Prem Sehgal, Colonel Gurbaksh Singh Dhillon, and Major General Shahnawaz Khan. Mutiny broke out and the armed forces turned against the British. Thousands of people protested outside the Red Fort in support